For decades, Mario has dominated the kart racing genre. No matter how hard Sonic tried, his games were always overshadowed and outperformed. But that's about to change, because Sega revealed Sonic Racing Crossworlds, a game built to destroy Mario Kart. Previous Sonic racing games have been full of incredible ideas, pushing the genre in ways Mario never even attempted. Imagine having such creativity and innovation, but lacking the same budget, the same marketing, the same chance to truly compete. Now, Sega is combining the best part of every past Sonic racing game, from transforming vehicles to hoverboard racing to create the ultimate version of the franchise. But can Crossworlds really surpass Mario Kart 9? This is Mr. Fascinating. And to answer that, let's look at where Sonic's racing games peaked, where they crashed and burned, and why Crossworlds is Sega's best and final chance ever to beat Mario. Believe it or not, there was a time when Sonic's racing games weren't just decent alternatives to Mario Kart. They were actually competing on equal ground. And the best example of that? Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed. Released in 2012, Transformed wasn't just another Mario Kart clone. While Mario Kart 8 was refining the same formula it had been using since 1992, Transformed was doing something completely different. It introduced multi-terrain racing, where your vehicle would shift between car, boat, and plane mid-race. 1 second, you were drifting through tight corners in a car. The next, you were flying through the air in plane formation. Then, the track collapsed and suddenly you were racing on water. Every race felt dynamic, with the track changing styles as you fought to maintain speed. It wasn't just about knowing the layout. It was about reacting and mastering every terrain. And that was just the racing. The trick system actually rewarded skill. The drifting mechanics were precise and deep, allowing players to chain boosts together if they were good enough. Meanwhile, Mario Kart was still heavily influenced by luck and randomness. Even the character roster in Transformed was better. Instead of Mario Kart's endless supply of baby characters and metal reskins, Transformed celebrated all of Sega's history. You had Sonic, sure, but also Jet Set Radio, Knights, Shenmue, and even crazy third-party guests like Wreck-It Ralph. Meanwhile, Mario Kart 8 was still busy stuffing its roster with Pink Gold Peach. For a moment, it really seemed like Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed was about to change the game. It had the mechanics. It had the depth. It had the variety. All they had to do was to make sequels that improved and expanded on the formula. And then, Sega dropped the ball. Instead of building on success, Sega did what they unfortunately used to do a lot. They threw it in the trash. When Team Sonic Racing came out in 2019, it felt underwhelming. Gone were the transforming vehicles. Gone was the expansive Sega crossover roster. Instead, Sega introduced a team-based racing system where you had to work together with AI teammates or other players to win. And while that could have been cool, the execution felt clunky. The game was slower, the mechanics weren't as satisfying, and the depth that made Transform so engaging was replaced by gimmicks that just weren't as fun. Sure, the gameplay was very similar, but the game just had a lot less content. It felt like a downgrade in every way possible, except for vehicle customization. Meanwhile, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was thriving! Nintendo kept the game alive for years with new DLC, new courses, and constant updates. Team Sonic Racing felt like an afterthought in comparison. Just a missed opportunity. With no post-launch support and no major content updates, it seemed like Sega had given up. With poor sales and without any sequel in sight, it seemed Sonic's racing games were dead. Until now, when Sega announced Sonic Racing Crossworlds, no one expected it to be this ambitious. This time, they're not just making a sequel to Transformers or Riders. They're combining both of them into their ultimate shot at making the best kart racer ever. First, and maybe most importantly, Extreme Gear is back. The hoverboards from Sonic Riders are making their long-awaited return, and for the first time since Free Riders destroyed the franchise, Jet the Hawk and the Babylon Rogues are back in action. This isn't just a nostalgic addition. It's a major shift in how the game will play. If Extreme Gear has its own unique physics and mechanics, this could mean a faster, more skill-based alternative to standard vehicle racing. But Sega isn't stopping there. The transforming vehicles from Transformed are also back, meaning Sonic's latest racer will bring back the land, air, and sea mechanics that made his greatest this game so far stand out. This means racing won't be just about memorizing the best turns. You'll have to master multiple styles of movement. And then there's the Crossworlds mechanic, which might be the biggest game changer yet. Unlike a traditional kart racer where every race is just 3 laps around the same track, Crossworlds literally changes the world around you mid-race. Whoever is in first place gets to choose which alternate dimension the next lap takes place in, meaning every race will feel fresh and unpredictable, which is really fascinating. The combination of these mechanics makes this the most ambitious Sonic racing game ever made. But what about Mario Kart 9? Well, we still don't have much information, but it's likely to play things pretty safe. Analyzing the footage, fans speculate that it's expanding the number of racers to 24 per race, which means even more chaos on the track. There's also speculation about an open-ended track design and a new mysterious item. The graphics also look more expressive and detailed like Super Mario Bros. Wonder, but overall, it still seems like classic Mario Kart. Fun? Absolutely. But innovative? Not really. I mean, you don't really need to be very innovative when you're already the undisputed leader of the market. Sega, on the other hand, is throwing everything at the wall, and somehow it's all sticking. Will Sonic Racing Crossworlds actually surpass Mario Kart? The Sonic franchise is now the most popular it's ever been. With the game being available on multiple consoles and having cross-play functionality, which is another advantage over Mario, it surely will sell a lot. It's probably going to be Sonic's best-selling racing game ever. But come on, let's be real. Mario Kart 9 is going to outsell it easily. It's Mario Kart. It's a cultural juggernaut that's been dominating the genre since the 90s. And it likely will be a launch title for the Nintendo Switch too. There's no way Sonic Racing Crossworlds is suddenly going to come in and take its crown in terms of sales. But in terms of gameplay and innovation, this might actually be the first time in history where a Sonic racing game isn't just an alternative to Mario Kart. It might actually be better. If Crossworlds executes its mechanics properly, if Extreme Gear actually plays differently from cars, if the transformations and Crossworld mechanics are as smooth as they look, and if Sega supports the game with DLC and updates, this could be the most ambitious kart racer ever made. Think about it. For decades, Mario Kart has played it safe, refining its formula but never truly reinventing it. Meanwhile, Sega is out here combining the best elements of every Sonic racing game, like a hard-working underdog using every means possible to reach for the stars. If Sega plays their cards right, Sonic Racing Crossworlds could be the first game where people genuinely start saying, wait, maybe this actually is better than Mario Kart. And for once, Mario might actually have to speed up to keep up with Sonic. For decades, Sonic has been chasing after Mario in the racing genre, always stuck in second place. But now he's finally taking the lead. And if you want to understand more about how big of a deal Crossworlds will be, and what the return of Sonic Riders Jet the Hawk and Extreme Gear really means for the franchise, click on this video before it disappears forever.